Rescuers are racing against time to save 7 people trapped in a flooded cave in Laos. The effort includes cave rescue experts from Thailand and Finland who aided the 2018 retrieval of a Thai youth football team. The 7 missing Laotian villagers had entered the cave about 125 kilometers northeast of the capital Vientiane 6 days ago. They were searching for gold, but were trapped inside the cave after heavy rain started to fall. The deluge triggered flash flooding and a landslide blocking their exit. About 100 people have gathered for the operation to pump water out of the cave, but rescue teams have not been able to reach the group. The Laotian Rescue Group is appealing for specialist personnel and equipment. The cave system in Laos extends deep underground with multiple levels and passages reaching more than 100 meters from the entrance. The situation brings back memories of the dramatic rescue of the Wild Boars youth football team in 2018. That was widely regarded as one of the most technically demanding submerged rescue operations ever completed. Back then, the rescue required staged cylinders, guideline management in zero visibility, and repeated submerged transits through narrow restrictions, also under monsoon conditions. The difference this time is that the teams in Laos appear to be operating inside an unmapped natural underground system with unstable hydrology, little fixed infrastructure, and limited information about the trapped group's precise location. For more on this story, we're joined by Professor Julien Louys from Griffith University. He's also a certified scientific cave diver. Professor Louys, thank you for making the time to speak with us today. Now, we know cave exploration can be extremely dangerous. It requires a lot of preparation beforehand. It's also unpredictable. Help us understand how cave exploration can become deadly so quickly.
Yeah, so caves are very dynamic environments and things can change very quickly in those cave systems, especially when you add that to these caves being in the tropics. The tropics obviously are characterized by having high rainfall. And so you have these large flooding events that can become regular occurrences within these caves. Caves inherently have unstable surfaces. They have very tight passages. And you can also get lost in these caves very quickly if you're not familiar with these systems. Now, that's in an ideal scenario when the caves are actually dry. When the caves actually submerge and when they're wet, that complicates things at least 100-fold. It's incredibly challenging conditions, and things can go from bad to very, very bad in a matter of seconds.
So how dangerous is it then for these rescuers who are helping those stuck in the Laotian cave? What kind of challenges could they possibly be facing when people become trapped like this?
Yeah, so, I mean, cave diving is inherently a risky sort of endeavor. And in ideal conditions, you'll have clear water, you'll have well-established guidelines, and you'll have a good idea and good map of the caves that you're diving. So you'll have So you'll have a clear indication of where you're going. With these particular conditions, the waters are going to be fast-flowing. So you're not going to be able to have those still waters. They're going to be full of sediment. So the visibility will likely be almost zero, if not zero. And the cave divers will have no clear indication of where they're going as they're exploring various different passages. So you're doing cave exploration, underwater cave exploration, which is an incredibly tricky thing to do in ideal conditions. And these are not ideal conditions. They're going to be moving through some tight passages. They'll need to make sure that they watch their gas, so make sure that they don't run out of gas. They'll need to make sure that they don't go into decompression, so they don't go too deep within these systems. All of these things are going to need to be managed as they're moving through that cave system. And so it's going to be a really staged procedure, and I suspect it's going to take them quite some time to be able to locate these Laotian cavers.
To locate these cavers, what should they be prioritizing? What have you observed so far about the current situation?
I mean, it's such a tricky situation because there's no information about how big the cave is, the various different passages. These limestone caves can be maze-like. There can be passages leading left, right, up, down. You just never know. And where these villagers have gone to look for gold or for bats or whatever it is that they might have been looking for, there's no information on that either. And so it's going to be a real almost needle in a haystack sort of situation, except that this particular haystack is just going to be full of fast-flowing, muddy water, which will make it very, very difficult for the cave divers to know exactly where they should be going and where those cavers may still be around.
Given how dangerous cave exploration is, why do people still take that risk?
When you're doing cave exploration, generally you have the training, you have the preparation, and you have the right equipment to be able to do it in a safe manner. So that's when you are doing cave exploration in a very managed sort of way. These villagers are probably intimately familiar with this cave system. It's probably a local cave system that they've been in before. So they're probably familiar with it in the dry setting that it normally is. But unfortunately, in this particular instance, because of the high amount of rainwater that's come through, it's flooded the passages, it's produced mud flows that could potentially change or alter various different tunnels that might be accessible. And so that can change what was previously a known condition into a very highly unknown condition. And so, this is not the right conditions to be doing cave exploration if you could help it. But obviously, there's lives at risk, and we'll need to do what you can to get those to those people.
What kind of lessons did we learn from the Thailand wild boars rescue mission? Did that incident change how the region prepares for cave emergencies?
I think there's now a good understanding that you need to bring the experts in early. So cave divers have got incredible years of experience diving in challenging conditions. They have the right equipment to be diving in those conditions, and they have the right training, and most importantly, probably the right mindset to go into these what are mostly deadly sort of conditions. And so bringing in the experts early and making sure that these cave diving experts are consulted to work out the safest and best way to potentially reach these villages is probably the most important lesson that's been learned from the Thai cave rescue in 2018.
Now, the danger isn't limited just to inland caves. 5 Italian divers died in the Maldives earlier this month. They were in an underwater cave system, and they were experienced divers with a professional guide instructor. What do we know about what happened in that tragedy, and what might have gone wrong?
Yeah, so my understanding is that although they were professional divers and they'd been on potentially thousands of dives, again, they weren't cave divers as far as I understand. They weren't trained cave divers. So cave diver training is a completely different level of experience, equipment, and as I said, mindset than regular open ocean diving. One of the things that if you run into trouble in open ocean diving, is that you can quickly surface. You can quickly get up to the surface, even if you're relatively deep. You know where the air is. If you run into trouble in caves, you run into a number of different problems. The first one is that you can't get immediately to the surface. In order to get back to the surface, you have to traverse back the way that you came through those different cave passages. The way that we generally do that is by following a guideline. So you establish a fixed line from the surface all the way through to your deepest point of penetration, and then you can follow that guideline back out. It's incredibly easy to get lost or disorientated in caves. And so one of the things that you want to do is be able to always have either touch or be able to see that guideline. In very low visibility conditions, such as the conditions that will be found in the Laos caves, as I said, the visibility will be pretty much non-existent. So the cave divers are going to be having to go in there by feel. My understanding with the case in the Maldives is also that it was quite deep, and deep conditions also bring their own sets of complications. You have risk of things like nitrogen narcosis, where you go a little bit loopy due to the excess amounts of nitrogen in your blood. And you also run into problems with decompression. So all of these things compound on each other. And generally what we find is that when people get into these cave diving situations and they're not familiar with them, or they don't have the right training, or they don't have the right equipment, they can quickly panic. And panic often quickly leads to death.
Thank you, Professor, for sharing those insights with us. We were speaking to Professor Julien Louys from Griffith University.